year 18-3. A big game pitcher, not only last year but in the World Baseball Classic. It's been a big disappointment this year. I really don't know what to expect from him for the rest of the season. I was surprised that they started him in the minors in low A ball the last time. I thought with the problems they had with their pitching staff being so thin right now, they might roll the dice with them earlier in the month of September to see what they had, but they're going to wait now. They know what's going on, I guess, but I really don't know what to expect from the guy. I don't think they know.
Gary Trupriano brings up a good point. A lot of question marks still with Daisuke. If Daisuke does return, what can we expect out of him? Will he even be in the starting rotation, or will he be more of a long relief guy?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, he's coming back to make that start on Tuesday against the Angels, and coming back against the Angels, that should be an interesting task for Daisuke. He hasn't pitched all that great at all this year. Coming back against a solid team of the Angels, who earlier in their year, not too long ago, their whole lineup was hitting 300.
Right.
Well, you have a team like that who puts up contact, and especially with Daisuke, who gives up a lot of walks. That creates an interesting situation. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he comes out, especially from the long stretch without playing, being here, especially coming into a tough race. The Red Sox are still in a race. This thing is not close to over. So you have Daisuke coming in a pressure situation. Can he handle it? I mean, he showed, yes, in Japan and coming here a couple of years ago in the postseason, but can he handle it after such a long break? And as you said, it'll be interesting to see if they do make the postseason, who's that final starter? Is it Daisuke? Is it Wakefield with the injuries? That's going to be an interesting situation.
I don't think Daisuke can do it. I think he's going to struggle, and I think the Angels are going to take advantage of him and destroy the Red Sox in that game. Daisuke's been really inconsistent this whole season, and now he's coming off of a really long break and not playing for the Red Sox for a really long time, and I think he's just going to get blown away by the Angels.
And you bring up a good point. Terry Francona and Theo Epstein have been very smart here. They're not putting Daisuke into a mop-up situation, but at the same time, they're not throwing him into a must-win situation. Something else that isn't being talked about a whole lot that I'll sort of bring up here is if Daisuke doesn't in fact start, and that fifth spot in the rotation, especially in the postseason, goes to Paul Bird or even Tim Wakefield, Daisuke could be very valuable in the bullpen, mopping up some innings. We've seen it with the Red Sox before, their long relievers, Kyle Snyder, John Halama. And over those two guys, I would take Daisuke, regardless of how he's pitched earlier this season. I'd take him over those two guys any day of the week. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, you mentioned guys, in previous that have stepped up for them in the long relief role, and it creates a valid point, which a lot of times people would point out and say Wakefield is that trooper. He's that guy that you would want in that long relief role because he can handle it. He never takes anything personal. He's such a team player. You wonder with Daisuke, with the comments he made earlier this year, when a team going back, a lot of people say they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't put him in that long relief role. They just put him off the roster. To be honest, I think it all depends how he pitches the rest of the way. If he comes out against, the Angels, has a great performance, and his next starts he builds up his confidence and does great, they might give him that number 4 role.
They want Daisuke to pitch well.
Exactly. I think you would want anybody to pitch well, but I think they might be put in a spot where they do have to use Daisuke because Wakefield is hurt, and you don't know how long you can use him. Right now he's on a 10-day basis.
Yeah.
So it might be their best benefit to put Wakefield in that long relief role or take him out of the ALDS for the first and then put Daisuke in that starting role.
Daisuke has been here now for 3 seasons. Coming over from Japan, has he been a success for the Red Sox thus far?
I'd say so far you have to say yes. I mean, it's not a resounding, he's been a superstar and great. His first year, he had his struggles, obviously, which is easy to understand coming from Japan. As good as a pitcher he is, everybody needs to adjust. You're facing major league hitters. And I think last year, he had, you have to admit, he had a good year for his numbers, all the amount of walks he gave up. He still finished 18-3, a 2.90 ERA. He had a decent number of strikeouts, and his batting average against with men on base and the bases loaded was ridiculous. He was great with the bases loaded. It was just getting those people on. So that made him, he could only go 5-6 innings. So if he could limit those walks, I think he's good. But if he can limit those walks, he could be great, and he could earn himself another long contract with the Red Sox or another team per se if he does good after this.
Well, going back to having him as a long reliever, also when you're in that kind of situation, most of the time that's either in extra innings or you're in the 9th or 8th inning. So those are the times where you don't want to be giving up runs. And with the case of Daisuke, where he's giving up all these walks, and when you're in the playoffs, you're playing against the best teams in the Major League, so they'll be the teams that will have the best chance of capitalizing on those chances. I think they shouldn't gamble on Daisuke like that.
And he's a big gamble if they were to gamble with him.
Yeah.
Switching gears to the AL Central, the Detroit Tigers have all but wrapped up that division. The Chicago White Sox are still playing strong despite Detroit having a 5-game-plus lead in that division. The Tigers look like they're going to make the playoffs, and if they do, they'll play the Anaheim Angels. Do they stand a chance playing Los Angeles of Anaheim in the playoffs?
I think with their it all goes on their pitching, their front line of the rotation mainly. They have a good offense and a good lineup that it's formidable and you can put out there. But like I said, it all depends on their pitching. We have Verlander, who could easily be the Cy Young Award winner this year. As we saw, he came into Fenway and overpowered the guy, throwing 100 miles an hour in the 8th inning.
Absolutely stifling.
That's amazing. And then you have Edwin Jackson, who was the league leader in ERA.
He's an all-star as well.
Exactly. I mean, he took a little step back, but he's still pitching pretty good for the year. So if they can get those two guys with the rookie Rick Porcello, who's been great for them so far this year, he's a candidate for the Rookie of the Year. So they have their top three. They have that, those three pitchers that you need in the playoffs, with the fourth throw in Jared Washburn, who has had some success with the Angels and all them. So it should be interesting. Against the Red Sox, I don't think, just going by the numbers, I think the Red Sox could easily handle them, but the Red Sox wouldn't face them if they made it in the first round. But it would be interesting. I think because it's tough to say, but they're definitely probably the most unpredictable team in the whole Major League.
And Detroit is not a very intimidating place to play at this day and age.
At least not lately, the last couple of years. So
before we send it over to Connor Pertain one last time, I want to get your picks or predictions for tomorrow night's game. New England Patriots taking on the Buffalo Bills. What do you think?
I'm going to have to go with the Patriots. The Patriots have been pretty strong throughout the preseason, a little inconsistent. I mean, you look at their game against Cincinnati, where they struggled a little bit, but then you look at their game against Philadelphia, where they just manhandled the Eagles. And I think if they can play the way they've been playing, where they've been really strong offensively, and the offensive line is able to protect Brady, I think they'll do well.
Yeah, I think they're going to come out, and I'm not going to say they're going to handle them, but I think they're going to come out, and it's going to be the Patriots. The Patriots that we saw a couple years ago. They have that offense. Brady's back. I think he's going to show people that he's had a solid preseason. I think he's going to show a lot of the people back in the NFL that, hey, I'm back. I'm still a force to be reckoned with, especially with Moss, Welker. It's interesting how Galloway will do, and he looks like he has a pretty good relationship with Chris Baker so far. So
right.
I think the only question mark will be their defense with the loss of Seymour and how they do with the loss of Bruschi and Harrison too. But I think they'll win it.
Another question, special teams. They'll lose Larry Izzo, their longtime special teams captain, to the New York Jets. Sam Aiken is the new special teams captain. It remains to be seen how he'll do in his first full season as special teams captain in New England. This has been another Sunday edition of YSA Back Talk. Jake Saltzman, Chris, Alex, we're going to send it over to Connor Pertain.
Thanks, Jake. I'm Connor Pertain, and we've got some quick score updates for you before we say goodnight here at YSA. The Red Sox lead Tampa Bay currently in the 8th inning. In the NFL, San Francisco leads Arizona 20-16 in the 4th quarter. The New York Giants barely scathed a win against Washington 23-17, and the Seattle Seahawks shut out St. Louis 28-0. In the world of golf, Tiger Woods shot a 3-under par at Cog Hill today, giving him a 19-under par total, which allowed him to beat Jim Furyk and Mark Leishman by 8 strokes, who were both tied at 11 under par. And in the FedEx Cup standings, Steve Stricker still leads Tiger Woods by over 900 points. I'm Connor Pertain signing off for Jake and everyone else on the YSA Back Talk set. This has been another live edition of Ksports Sunday. Thanks for watching and good night.